Welcome, everybody. I am Madeline Hammond, and our guest today is Treva Brandon Scharf. It's hard to put a label on Treva because she has many titles and does each of them very well. She's an ICF certified life coach, a dating expert, a fitness pro, a post-50s influencer, an active blogger, and last but not least, she and her husband have their own podcast called Done Being Single. Treva's focus is to help her clients achieve peak performance in life and love. And I asked her to be our guest today to talk about networking and job interviewing. Treva's vast experience in how to navigate the dating world crosses over in a very interesting way when it comes to looking for a job. So welcome, Treva.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to ask you right out of the gate, how does your experience in dating correlate to being on the job market?
To me, it's like a job interview. It's just you're vetting people, you're meeting people, you're sizing them up, you're looking them up and down, you're observing body language, intelligence levels, quirks, tics, everything, dress, shoes.
Shoes, right.
Yes.
I never thought of that. That's exactly right. Well, but also chemistry. I mean, it's just like when you're dating, you kind of have that feeling like, hey, there might be something there. And
yes,
right. But
yeah.
I would think though that you need to trust that gut, much like you do in the dating world, because if you don't get a good vibe in an interview when you're, with your potential new boss, I think we have to respect that. And yeah, why enter a long-term relationship with someone if you don't get a good feeling?
Correct. It's hard. And it's hard in the beginning because just like on a job interview, the first 1, 2, 3 dates are awkward and people are nervous and they're clumsy and they're trying too hard and they're talking too much and they're not asking enough questions.
Right.
So that's why I always give people, a break, give them a second chance. I'll go on a second date, maybe a third date. And then people start to relax and kind of become who they are. Unless you were a professional dater like me, of course, and I hit it out of the ballpark, boom.
But that was after years of experience.
Yes.
So yeah. I want to go back to that because I think it's important. You're right. On a date, you might have a second or third chance, but in a job interview, sometimes you don't. So let's talk for a second because I want to address this in two ways. One, why is it hard for some people to put themselves out there? And others, it's easy. For you, yes, you were professional, but I'm sure in the beginning it wasn't. But do you have some tips about kind of getting over that, especially now because we have to do it virtually? You don't even have the luxury of being next to the person or across the desk from them. Right. So talk to us about really putting yourself out there, and it's scary. Let's admit it.
So I think everything comes down to, I think my feeling about dating is that really dating is an exercise in self-worth. Just like pretty much everything is, if you think about it. It's how you feel about yourself. It's how you value yourself. It's what you feel that you are deserving of, what you've earned. And you can either be, it's really incumbent upon you to really develop that sense of self-worth and self-esteem, because that's kind of like, those are your assets. Those are your the things that are going to carry you into relationships and jobs and just into situations. And if you don't have it, and a lot of people don't have it, then you just got to be a super good bullshitter, I guess. On dates, people are slick, man. They're smooth. They're either really clumsy or they've got it down. And then you find out later that it was all kind of, an act. But I think the more you can authentically own everything about you, good and bad, the more authentic and real you come off, and the more you own it, the more it's kind of all in the way that you present. It's presentation, basically. Everything is. And no one's perfect, and we are all flawed. The difference is how much of those flaws do you own and you actually have integrated into who you are, and how proud you are of how far you've come.
I like what you said though about when you were talking about recognizing your flaws and some of your imperfections and all that. I think it's important to do that, and to also equally recognize some of the assets that you have. But when you're looking for a job, if
Yeah.
you have to sell yourself, and you know how you were saying about in the dating world, some people are big bullshitters.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that. I'm not suggesting that people lie. I'm not suggesting that they bullshit, but I am thinking that maybe a little bit of practice, maybe even if you don't feel it deep down inside, because it's tough as you're looking for a job and your esteem might not be at its highest, depending
Correct.
on the situation that you're in, that I think we have to, I don't know, act as if, like we have to at
Yes.
least come across confident and together, because soon we will be. What do you think of that? Do you agree?
Yes, I think that it's up to us to find a certain level of belief in ourselves. You have to have some belief that I'm worthy of it. Again, I go back to the self-worth thing. I'm worthy of a great job. I'm worthy of a great boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse. I worked really hard for it. I've worked really hard on myself. If you've got to be the source of your own validation, ultimately, because you may not get it from outside, you may not get it from other people. Ultimately, you have to be that person that says, I'm pretty great. And if this person doesn't, this is why breakups are so hard. They were hard for me, because I used to think, geez, I think I'm pretty great. What's the disconnect here? How come you don't think I'm pretty great? And that's a whole other thing, that, not everyone's going to like you. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Or if you don't think I'm great, maybe I'm not so great. And you put too much value on someone else's opinion, and that's not good too.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Well,
hard. It's hard in dating, and it's hard in job searching, because you are dependent on someone else's approval.
Right. That's right.
When people come to me, there is usually a level of self-loathing. They are not happy with themselves. No one's coming to me because they feel that they look great.
Mm.
They don't. They're coming to me because they want to either, get in shape or lose weight or get stronger, or name it, just feel young again, feel like they're not getting old and rickety, and so there is a level of, I say that most of them come with some self-loathing or some self-doubts and fear. So my job is to, number one, make them feel like they are enough as they are. That is super important. I do that. I weave that in all the time with my work. You're great. Let's just bring out the greatness. Let's just bring out more,
Right.
So I need people to feel, I want people to come from a place of strength and ability first. And then we build on that. Same with life coaching or dating coaching clients. Same deal, man. You've got it in you.
Right.
My job is just to bring it to your attention and to pull more of it out.
Well, and I like what you said about you're good enough right now at this time. You don't have to, some people will say, well, I actually had someone say to me, well, I want to start looking for a job, but I have to lose the COVID 20 pounds I put on during the quarantine.
Yeah.
And you can't wait for that. You just have to start now.
Oh, how about the clients that will say to me, I want to work with you, but first I need to get into some shape. Like, I need to get in shape to get in shape. And I'll say, what? Just, you do it. You just, it's the act of doing it, and don't feel like you have to, look, this is why people seek out self-improvement. This is the whole purpose of it. And as much as you're enough, I will say on the flip side of that, yes, you are enough, but you are not off the hook. There is always improvement. You can always, there's always tweak, 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 right?
Right. Yep. No, that's true. Well, and I also think that during this time of quarantine and as people might be starting back to look for jobs, um, fitness, I don't care what level you're at, even if it's just stretching, but some connection with your body and is got to be very helpful for alleviating some anxiety, depression. It's
Oh
got
yeah,
to boost mental health.
of course, of course. I do it. I practice it. I practice what I preach. I don't I get enough for my head. It's as much for my head. Exercise is as much for this as it is for this.
Right. Good.
And you don't have to go out and kill yourself. You just a little know your limits. You can push yourself. Don't kill yourself. And chances are you don't have a class. Well, maybe you do have a class. Great. Download whatever apps that you want. Do whatever it takes. If you can do it yourself, great. Get as much help as you need.
But I think you want to feel good about the way you look, because after all, when you're looking for a job, you are putting yourself right out there. And even now more so because it's Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or whatever they're using, and you're right there. So you're bigger than life. Well, I want to go back to something that you said about the breaking up. All right. So, because I think this definitely is a thing that affects a lot of people that I know. So we'll take you through the scenario. They have the interview. They do pretty good. They're feeling good. They look good. They tell a good story. They sell themselves, and they're a good fit. They definitely qualify for the job, and then they don't hear back. So much like someone in the dating world ghosting someone, how can one, because it's very difficult. There's a lot of people that are hiring that just don't even take a minute to say, thank you so much for coming in, but we feel broken. So how do you cope with that ghosting aspect? Because it can be very damaging to some people.
Very damaging, very undermining to your self-worth and everything. Again, I go back to where is your center? Where is your source of validation? If you have a strong infrastructure already in place, look, rejection sucks. I don't care. Everybody's affected by rejection, some more than others. So if you're out there in the dating world, or if you're out there looking for a job, you just have to keep building that muscle or that thick skin, without you becoming cynical or bitter. It has to, somewhere inside, you would just have to say, I did my best. I looked my best. I was articulate. I was funny. I was smart. I came with all the answers and all the right things to say, and I look good. And you know what? If it didn't work, this is what I would do. I'm not that person. I'm not for you, and you're not for me. And if you weren't able to see the magic or the whatever, then you're never going to see it. That's just, then I'm not your girl. And when you're single, as long as I was, you had to get really good at it, because it required a very thick skin, because I was single till I was 50. And I went on a gazillion dates and had a gazillion breakups. And I only had myself to pick up the pieces and to heal and to move on and to get back in the saddle. And I got kind of good at it towards the end.
I heard something or read something that the right person at the wrong time is the wrong person. And I think the same thing applies for jobs as well. You could be the right person for that job. It just might be the wrong time, in which case you're the wrong person. But I like the way that you were able to separate yourself, your self-worth, from whether or not you got the job or not, or whether or not you got the call back or not, or whether or not you got the affirmation. Sometimes you just, as I said, you don't hear anything. But I like the way you were able to say, well, this is it. I did the best I could, and let the best man or woman win.
Yeah, that's what I tell a lot of my dating coaching clients, that you have to consider yourself the prize. You are the prize. May the best man win. Okay. And how you get to being the prize is a process. So that takes some time, it takes some work. on feeling that good about yourself that you feel like, hey, I am the prize and someone's damn lucky to have me or date me or
Right.
hire me.
Or hire me. Right. Let's talk about for a second. Some of us have had experiences with bad bosses or a bad job breakup. How do you have advice for your clients on how we can take these experiences, or maybe you yourself had a situation where this might have happened, and how at some point we have to let these go. We have to let this go. Any suggestions on this? And maybe there's a way to change the story slightly so we're strengthened by it rather than carrying
Sure.
around with shame.
I was working for a fitness company, and not too long ago, actually, right like when I was 50. So I'm 57 now. And I had been with this company for many, many years, on and off, as a full-time group fitness instructor and as a sub. And I was doing my job really well. You know, I was very proud of my work and I got great feedback, and there was no reason to feel like, I don't know, that I wasn't a valuable member of the team, until one day out of the blue, I felt like I was getting ghosted, because normally I would get called to sub, and I was sort of a go-to sub, and I was fine with that. And then those calls sort of, kind of diminished, and I finally asked my fitness manager, "What's up? Why am I'm not hearing from you guys? What's going on?" And he said, "Well, we're going to need you to come back in and audition in front of the other fitness managers from the other clubs." And now, remember, let me give you some background. I've been doing this. I've been in the fitness business for 6 years. I mean, I know my stuff. I could do it in my sleep. I could do it with my eyes closed. I'm good. And I know I'm good. So I thought, you want me to what? After you've seen me teach 1,000,000 times, and, the members like me, and what's the problem? But because I felt good about myself, I probably should have said, you know what, F you, I'm not doing it. You know me, you should know my work by now. I shouldn't have to go in and justify myself, or, I don't know, prove myself again. Are you kidding me? It was so insulting. But because I am secure with myself, I thought, hey man, I'm going to go in and I'm going to crush it. I'm going to go in and do my 10 minutes or whatever they wanted to do. Went in and I did my thing, and I felt, and I was so humiliated because it was in front of like all of these people half my age. And I just thought, oh God, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm a team player and I have nothing to fear and I have everything to gain by showing up and showing them what a professional looks like. And then, I don't know, I got a call a few days later and they said, thank you so much, but we're not going to be needing your services anymore. And I said, why? They said, well, you kind of you're low energy.
Oh no.
And,
Gosh.
oh, you just took a thing and impaled me, like, could you just kill me even more? I was so hurt. Because to me, that was code for you're too old. And I knew better. I mean, this was, not too long ago, but I wasn't over the hill and I wasn't too old and I didn't have low energy. I don't know where and why that was the general feedback, but it just killed me for a little bit.
Did you have a hard time shaking that? And were there certain things that you did so that you can now tell that story and other people are helped by it? Or do you still carry a little bit of that? Tell me.
That's a great question. I think by telling the story, I probably can help people, because if it can happen to me, it can happen. And like I said, I'm so secure with myself. I'm so totally at one with who I am as a coach and teacher and trainer. It was almost like I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. It was as if they were speaking about two different people.
I love that story because it's, regardless of the circumstances, we've all been told things that we don't need you, or you're transitioned out, or you're furloughed, or you're laid off, or whatever it is. And no matter what excuse they give us, you're, like you said, sometimes it just pierces you. It just goes
Oh,
right through.
it was
And
bad.
and then suddenly you begin to doubt.
Yeah,
And then,
because I really am defined by, I mean, this is everybody's, thing. You're defined by what you do. You're right. I
you
mean,
are.
not everything, but wow, a whole bunch of my persona and my self-concept was wrapped in, is wrapped up in what I do. So it was a real slap in the face. And but I know, again, I had to go back to, how would I feel if this was a breakup and someone told me, I went through the same process and the protocols that I would do post breakup. A lot of just, licking my wounds, getting back on track, breathing, whatever it takes after a breakup or a firing. You have to do a lot of self-care,
Yes.
and a lot of kind of reminding yourself, do a lot of reflection.
Yeah.
So there is, this is where I go into the self-improvement thing,
Right.
because any little feedback might be good.
Yeah.
It's a moment to think, was I low energy? Did I come into that room maybe a little resentful?
In a way, it could be motivating.
Was I pissed a little that I had to do this? Did it show?
Right. Yeah.
Am I going on first dates with, this is not me, but a lot of people go on first dates and kind of bring in a lot of bitterness or cynicism, or, and that's not attractive. They've been through so many first dates or so many interviews. They're kind of like tired and they're burned out. And
Right.
Does that show?
People pick up on that. People pick up on
Right.
so many of this.
Right.
Well, one thing I noticed when I was, in fact, when I introed you, I talked about the fact you're a post-50 influencer. And I wondered if you could just talk for a minute about that. Why do you feel this particular age range might need a little bit of support and some extra attention? Tell us about that. And maybe that experience led to this.
Yeah. Well, because I'm also a late bloomer, and I feel like there are a lot of us out there that haven't gotten their shit together, or are taking a little longer than others. And there's so much room for self-defeating thinking and negative beliefs, and because you haven't made it, because you haven't achieved, because you aren't married yet, or because you haven't, name it, or that maybe you have already and you've been married and you've had your kids and you've had your big career, and maybe you're not doing that anymore, and maybe you've been let go, and maybe you're divorced, and maybe it's second chapter, and it's, this is the reinvention time. And I just feel, having been in this space for a while as a blogger and a writer and a podcaster, I feel like it's a very underserved market. And I feel that women in particular are sort of ignored. And it's unfortunate, it's really tragic at a time in life when women are stronger than ever and have a real voice, finally. And there's not a lot of outlets and places and things that are taking us seriously. Everything is so, as is always, youth oriented. Dating apps, the whole dating world, it's so millennial driven. And anything that is for people post 50, I don't know who's not getting the memo, but everything seems so stodgy. Everything like dating apps for post 50, over 50 people, and just the way everything is marketed for older people feels like not groovy, not hip and happening. And that bothers me.
Right.
I think people over 50, men and women, are really starved, are really hungry for information and inspiration and anything that's going to give them a leg up.
Oh, I love that.
In anything.
in anything. And we're not invisible. And you're right. And we're not retiring. And there's still a lot left there. So I think that's very empowering. I love what you said. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us some really inspirational stuff. This was Treva. I just